in the South, okay, it's more commercial. You know, the guy is a kidnapper, you trade money, you can negotiate with him. The guy is fighting for oil in the Niger Delta or whatever. In the North, the guys don't know why they are being violent. They just want to kill people. They just tired of the way the world is organized. And sadly, it just came home to roost what we have been saying for a whole generation. The elite in the North thought they could take care of themselves and use the people as fodder. This whole feudalistic thinking. It is so short-sighted because it eventually catches up with you. That's where we are today. The North refused to invest in its young people, in their education, in their well-being, and they thought they would keep getting away with people coming and paying homage to them. Well, it just got to the point where there are too many easy recruits for anybody with a crazy idea. And that's why the violence all over the place. I mean, where is spread of this? Sokoto? I was talking to even the Sultan himself. He was telling me about the rate of the violence in Sokoto. All over. And I saw one legislator who was saying, what I'm talking about, COVID-19, it cannot compare to the violence in my neighborhood. You know? So we are in this terrible situation. How are we going to solve it? Policing is in collapse. The police, you know, we don't know what's going on. We won't have a proper structure for the police. Anywhere that policing is effective, it is a local function. I lived in the US for 5 years in graduate school. The university that I went to had its own police. The city it was located in had its own police. The county that the city was located in had its own police. The state had its own police. Now you say, no, police must be controlled from Abuja. A police in Anambra State, totally disconnected from the Anambra people, doesn't know their pain, doesn't know the neighborhood. As I speak to you, if you arrive in Beverly Hills, California, you arrive there and you're just driving along, or you're just walking down the street. Within minutes, you see a police car behind you. They may not do anything to you, but the police car will keep following you until you leave the neighborhood. Because they know everybody who lives on the street, who lives in that neighborhood. Once you are not one of those people, they will be escorting you until you find where you're going or you leave the place. So if you go and bring policemen from New York, how would they know the people who live in the neighborhood? So the whole conception of policing in Nigeria is completely out of whack from norm. Even with all of this, you still have the kind of problems we have in policing in the US, as we saw with Floyd and all of that. So you can imagine where somebody from Breeding Kebbi is in Anambra there. As far as it's concerned, these are just, it's just an arena to extort. So being able to provide security in Nigeria suffers from the wrong philosophy of policing, suffers from institutional challenges in military arrangements, and so on and so forth. So how do you fix the problem of violence in Nigeria without dealing with these fundamental philosophical challenges? It's a problem. Nigeria is in serious trouble. I mean, if we ever needed to cede Nigeria to be recolonized, this is when we did it. Some colonial authority to come and just, you know, shut the place down and reconstruct it. Very sadly, you know, I mean, I say it as a joke, but, you know, it's not so funny. It's a bad situation.
But, sir, how have you coped all these years? Because I know that over the last 30 years or more, You've been an advocate of change in Nigeria. You've been involved in a lot of groups, concerned professionals. You run a program, Potatoes Gang. You've written several articles that could form volumes of books and all of that. And you've been involved in politics. You've tried to contest and all of that. And all what you're fighting for is still very much with us. And I'm wondering, how does Prof feel each time you see the same issues of corruption of that you've been fighting for decades and all that and all? And how come you're not frustrated by all of this?
You know, many years ago, I arrived to Washington. I was going to a meeting at the World Bank. A Nigerian who was at IFC in the World Bank group back then called Bayo Iwole. And I was saying to Bayo, look, I'm tired. I'm tired, you know. And Bayo said to me, look, can you imagine Nigeria without people like you, what it would be? With all that you are doing, it is this way. Imagine that there were no people like you, what it would be. It put a new perspective on the whole thing. It might seem like a failure. You know, in fact, one of the ways I introduce myself is, hey, my name is Utomi. I'm a serial failure. So, without these failings, maybe it would have been Somalia a long time ago. So I take some solace in it. Some years ago, I don't remember exactly how long, one day I picked up one of the newspapers, I think it was The Guardian, there was an opinion piece. And the person was saying, look, this Utomi, why is he still in Nigeria? All the people like him have left. What is he still doing here? Poor guy. He should just leave and go and have his peace somewhere. You know? Strangely, I didn't save that article. I don't remember who wrote it. But it was a nice, very well-written piece, nice person. He meant well, but he was just sorry for me that this place will drive me mad. You know, I think he referred to the Awujobis who died worrying about Nigeria and all of that. But God has been kind. He has preserved me in the middle of all of this. So I can't but be grateful. But I've borne, to be very frank with you, I've borne a heavy price. But this concern for Nigeria has cost me in many ways. There have been assassination attempts in the past under Abacha, concerned professionals. From a business point of view, I probably lost enough in business that to have, you know, I would have been a billionaire several times over, but for my concern for what is right in Nigeria. And so I've just kept losing and losing. But, you know, I have an attitude towards money, which Ben Murray Bruce kind of challenged about 12 years or so ago. Ben came to visit me and said to me, why do you hate money? I said to him, what do you mean? How can I hate money? I'm the ultimate evangelist of free enterprise. How can I possibly hate money? He says, no. And he started pointing to people who he believed became millionaires standing on my back or my shoulders or whatever. I said, but look at you, how modestly you live. And I said to him, maybe you have a different way of calculating money from the way I calculate it. You're probably measuring money in the size of bank account. I'm measuring money in the fact that you can point to those people and say they became millionaires on my back. That is more money than the money in your bank account. And he was puzzled by the logic. But, you know, as I reflect on all those years, and I see those people who made, quote unquote, lots of money, and I look at them and I say, how many of them have a better quality of life than I have? How many of them will arrive in Washington and get phone calls from the kind of people who call me? And, you know, how many of them, you can go on and on. And I said to myself, look, it's okay. It's okay to have lost all that money, if that is what it is. because I think that I have been fortunate to pick up on some of the right values. And I try to encourage young people to recognize that values shape human progress. Fundamental to anything. They are what will make you happy eventually, your values, not the size of your bank account. And so I feel grateful, just grateful for the opportunity to have been involved in the things that I've been involved with.
And your last experiment in trying to go into politics and contest, how did it affect your view about politics?
It only just provided me a reinforcement of some of my fears. And in many ways, I'm very, very grateful that I did. Because in some sense, my position on some of those things could have been theory. But I got, see, in the last week, we've been looking at Godwin Obaseki and what's happening in Edo State.
Edo State, yeah.
And I'm just amused, in a manner of speaking, because I think of a statement made during World War II. You know, there was a Reverend Martin Niemöller during World War II who was looking at Germany and what happened there. Well, first, they came for the Jews. And I said to myself, those Jews, they make Wahala too much, Jerry. Then they came for the communists. Yeah. Now, wow, thank God I'm not a communist. Then they came for the Catholics. And they said, well, Lord, I thank you because I'm a Protestant. So when finally they came for me, there was no one left to speak up. What has happened to Nigeria is that there's creeping fascism. Our country is becoming fascist. And everybody laughs. The governors who were with Godwin yesterday are saying, thank God, at least it's Godwin they're going after. I'm safe in wherever state I am. It's Utomi. They prevented from actually participating after collecting his money. You know. Eventually, when they will come for them, there will be no one left to speak up. Nigeria will descend to anarchy. Take it from me, it's a promise. It will descend into anarchy unless something dramatic happens. And these current actors will be consumed by what they are sowing. And when that happens, unfortunately, the cost will be too much for the world. And don't rule out recolonizing Nigeria, I can tell you that.
That's a serious one, sir.